Woo!
Boom.
All right, we are live, folks. What's going on? This is Tres Winn, and this is a brand new live episode of Welcome to Volhalla, where we're talking all things coming out of good old Rocky Top. As I said, I'm Trey, and I'm joined by Mike Piper and Chase Green here to talk about everything happening the last couple weeks and what it's been, fellas.
Yeah.
Riding the high of the old Rocky Top recruiting. I feel like every day there's been a new thing, new announcement, which has been exciting. Yeah. Been a lot of fun. But, folks, for those that are jumping in right now, we want to let you know, Chat 10 Sports, we have our podcast network. You can actually listen to this after the fact, anywhere you listen to podcasts. So if you have friends that can't make it tonight, we want to thank everyone for watching first off, but also make sure and share that link with them. And, hey, subscribe, rate, jump in there. Share your thoughts with us. We really appreciate it. I know we're kind of populating here pretty quickly. But Chase, let us know about our friends down at Parkway Poorhouse, brother.
Yeah, my dude. We are, as always, sponsored by our great friends down at Parkway Poorhouse. Rumor has it they will be opening back up soon, potentially. Social distancing, of course. We're practical.
One booth apart.
That's right. Yes.
One booth apart. Yeah.
One booth apart. Every other seat. It's going down. But full menu's been back in swing, what now? 2 weeks to show?
Yes.
Everything's good. Everything's getting down pat. Everybody's figuring out what to do. Drink specials are popping. I can't wait. So,
hey, speaking of one booth apart, that's typically how I do my restaurating going out. I've always social distanced, to be honest, because
same.
Yeah, we've been doing this for too long. No, I had to throw my dad joke out. That's my one episode. So
I think restroom etiquette is the same as restaurant etiquette. You know, you always go one stall apart, one slot apart. Just, just common sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. What else you got for us, Mikey?
Also, if you guys could just please do us a favor, share the show, invite your friends, relatives, and all those who bleed orange, because we want to invite all of you to say hello in the comments as we go along in the show. Just please share your thoughts. We'd love to engage, answer questions, make fun of you, really whatever you want to bring to the table.
Make fun of us.
We're here for it. So just kidding. We'll be nice. We really do welcome all the comments and all the engagement we can get. So bring it on.
All right, guys, let's jump in because we got a lot to talk about tonight. And folks, like Mike said, if you have thoughts along with us, we're going to be talking about some recruiting, and we'll be talking about some kind of controversial topics and ideas about the accusations that have come with the success for Jeremy Pruitt, his staff. We got to be honest, and I'm going to open it up with that, guys. And I'll just throw it out here for everybody. And again, I'm going to post this in the comments. And I like the way that we've worded this because it makes sense, but we will clarify if needed. But guys, let me open this up for Mike and for Chase. Is recruiting simply a silent auction?
Asking the tough questions today.
Going for it, baby. Let's go.
Unfortunately, I'm more of a skeptic when it comes to recruiting. Like, I love following it. I followed it really, really actively for at least 10 years now, probably even 12 to 14, dating back to middle school. For whatever reason, it's just an aspect of being a Tennessee fan that I really enjoyed. And the longer I've followed it, the more I've been inclined to believe that there's a lot more, things that are exchanging hands in the background than maybe a lot of people want to believe. And part of that's because, to me, college football was always like the, kind of the more pure form of football, because the NFL, everybody's just doing it for money. Certainly, there is more passion. There is more people doing it just for the love of the sport, the love of the game, and to try to ultimately get to that next level. So I'm not taking that away from the game. But I do think that there probably is a lot more going on behind the scenes than we realize, particularly with these high-level recruits, the five-star guys, just because there is so much at stake for every one of these programs. There's millions and millions of dollars on the line. So I think we would be naive to think that people aren't trying to influence and help their program for the love of the sport, but also for the betterment of the athletic departments, for the betterment of their universities. We've seen it with the allegations surrounding the Zion camp. We've seen it with guys like Cam Newton, Reggie Bush. Certainly I'm not saying that every single college recruit that ends up somewhere is being paid, but I do think that it's definitely possible that these things are happening in the background.
Yeah.
With Tennessee, I just want to go there because I'm sure It is a hot topic. And my thought with this question, I know we brought it up. We kind of chewed on it for a day or two and said, do we really want to go after this thing like this?
Yeah.
But I mean, how many situations, like you mentioned with Zion, like we've seen, and we've accused other programs in the SEC. We've seen Ole Miss go through their stuff. Guys get into professional leagues and they admit things that they probably don't want, or their school does not want them to admit. But are we going to give Tennessee the same treatment? Are we going to just be biased? So again, we're throwing this out for all those who are watching. I know we've kind of populated the room here a little bit. Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments because it's a tough question to ask. Obviously, we're not going off of any type of rumors or stipulations or conspiracies that there is, but it has been the kickback from opposing fans, namely Florida, Georgia, and others. But at the same time, I mean, we've all said that, right? But Chase, what do you think, man? What's your go-to?
I tend to agree, and I think it's mostly for highly touted recruits. I think Mike touched on it. It's definitely the 5 stars, probably some high 4 stars, but for the most part, I think a lot of these guys just get recruited. You know, it's the namesake. Like if you're a high 3, maybe a low 4, you're probably getting some favors done. I don't know if you guys think that. I don't know if they're getting much cash. Probably here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think every kid does, especially the big-time D1 program. I don't think so for most mid-majors. Maybe a few basketball teams here and there because they can tend to land a guy. It's like, hey, I know we can get this guy. So, you know.
Yeah, don't sweat it.
I'm not saying it happened, but I'm saying somebody like John Morant, like, hey, nobody saw him. Murray State, come on now, you know?
Yeah.
But I do think, with touching on Zion, I think it happens a lot more in basketball nowadays because it starts so young in AAU programs. I think a lot of these coaches get him. I think Penny had some dicey ways, and there's some other guys that I could see getting AAU programs built up from, especially these bigger schools, these private schools. Little things go on, and yeah, we'll touch on the Zion stuff here in a minute, but yeah, I think it's more so happening in basketball, but I think the Reggie Bushes, the Cams, I think there's some things going on and some backdoor envelopes that are coming in hot.
Yeah. I didn't want to give our guy Herb Gundy's jumped in here like he always does with us, but he's just basically saying, as we'll put up on the screen here, he's saying they're just mad because we're outbidding them, which, I mean – yeah, if we're outbidding them, it is that silent auction. That's why I think that example was so good. Of it's an unspoken rule, it's an unspoken culture in college, athletics. And my thought too, I know this last week I was actually listening to the athletics podcast for the Vols with David Ubben and Joe Rexrod on there talking
David
about.
Awesome.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. But they were talking about NCAA 2014. He still has a couple copies, and believe it or not, he gave this information and my jaw hit the floor. And I'll ask it the way he asked it of Joe Rexrod, but you guys give me your thoughts. What do you think on eBay a copy of NCAA 2014 is going for right now?
$100.
Yeah, I'm gonna say more because I know I bought it for like $70 or $80 before the quarantine stuff. I'm gonna
got that Mike Pipe money, baby.
Like 140.
Dabble it in, baby.
He had it in at $200 on eBay, and he's saying he's sitting on a couple different, I think, years, 14, 13, maybe 12. And I mean, we all know I still keep up with Madden. I've always played Madden since I was a kid. The last year, the Titans actually hooked me up with a Xbox code, not to flex on anybody here, but that was a nice gesture from them. But I was surprised to see it, but I bring that up because of the sake of the likeness, image, and players making money off of. There's been rumors of that, and of course, everyone's thinking that NCAA would come back. But if that is in the future, that's one thing. But here and now, I think it will be something that it is all. I mean, Reggie Bush, like you mentioned a second ago, just to think about, because that's when I was in high school all those years ago. I mean, and whenever. Even though the record books now don't show it, and I guess he had to turn things in, things like that, he's still the guy. I mean, he was still the dude, regardless of the payments or the mortgage payments or rent, whatever it was to his family that he was getting or they were getting, I should say. But yeah, I just think it's something that it's always going to be there. And I think, unfortunately, for Tennessee fans, it extends to us as fans and the program as well, because like Herb said, if it's the highest bidder, then they win the day kind of a thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much like highest bidder. I do believe in our recruiting staff. I think they're very good. I think they've got so many connections. Just looking down the list of like how many years each one of them has won or been in the top 3 of recruiting classes or top recruiter in that nation,
Yeah.
So not to take away anything, because I do think that's part of it, but I think some sort of favor or deal package is just kind of a blanket thing. It's like, hey, we want you, but also it's like a tiered system almost. It's like, top star, I have no idea. I'm just throwing out hypothetical numbers. You get your 10 grand, or we get you a favor. Because, to roll off Zion's article, his family moved from Spartanburg to Durham all of a sudden.
Same with Tua and his family, who
But if two of his families rolling in that draft house, they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
That thing was nice. But I do think there's some sort of blanket something, whether it's a favor, maybe it's not financials technically, but these boosters, and it may not even come from coaches.
Yeah.
There might be a lot of times where coaches are like, no, I don't want to deal with the monstrosity that comes with it, but I do think boosters or even crazy fans just will somehow help that.
Yeah.
In some way. Maybe you guys disagree on that.
Well, I'm wondering if it's meal plans. They're up and up. You get the unlimited meal plan at the dining hall or whatever it is. I mean, different perks, obviously, but also something we've all seen it this last week, and I know we had made mention of talking about this. But Harrison Bailey, tweeting at other 5-star recruits of coming over here, and I don't think they're actually thinking through the ideas of, oh, maybe I can get a package deal as well. But it's something that it's nice to be able to see, because 2021, there's so much hype around that class now to where I've even caught myself. And again, for those watching, let us know what you're thinking about this recruiting class. But it's something too for the 2020 Vols. This is still a really good team, and I'm excited to see them. And I know we'll talk about it later as far as who we're most excited to see play. But I know it's something that it's nice, and it's something that I've had to honestly sit back and think, hey, this must be – it's been so long, I guess, since the Vols have been – really drawing guys in. And yeah, Butch, I know Zach Brooks always says, don't even mention his name, but the guy brought talent in. But the biggest thing that I'm looking for now, and I guess we'll see it with other players that have been in the program for the last couple of years with Pruitt, is can the guy develop talent? That's my biggest concern, my biggest question. So,
yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I do feel like he's shown a good track record of developing talent based on what we've seen in the first 2 seasons, but there still is a lot of unknown if he can take that big step from beating the teams like Vanderbilt and Missouri and Kentucky to competing with the likes of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And obviously there's a pretty big like difference there, So I think for me, I'm pretty well bought in on Pruitt. I really think that he is the guy, and I think that for me, I knew that he was a good recruiter at Alabama. I wasn't sure how it was going to look at Tennessee. And his first two classes have been like solid for sure, but I don't think he has been recruiting at the level that he needs to get back to us competing at a high level up until this class, unless he's been able to identify a lot of guys that were flying under the radar, that were underrated by the recruiting services. Because, I mean, we've been right around the top 10, well, at least with the last class, I'd say. But, I mean, the programs that have kind of gotten back to the top after being down for a long time, you look at Alabama, Nick Saban got there, and he had like a #1 recruiting class within his first couple of years there. Georgia rebuilding, well, I don't really want to say rebuilding, but they've kind of had top 5 classes there for the last few years. And then even LSU, they're getting to the top. They've had top 5 classes. So I feel like that's kind of the common denominator within these SEC programs is having these top 5 classes. But I think in the meantime, we are going to get to see how well Pruitt does at developing the talent that he's recruited on campus and how well he's been able to identify. Because I think this last class, even the class of 19 that was, borderline top 10 as well, I feel like the understanding around campus is that all of these guys are going to contribute at the program in some way. Like he didn't really miss on anybody. That's not to say that they're all going to be all SEC players, but like there's nobody on the team or in the program that just isn't going to pan out for and be worth anything as a player, depending on if they transfer or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, I believe in Pruitt. I believe in what he's doing, and I do think that I really think he's proven that he can develop talent. I think that was one thing Jalen Ramsey said, and then I'll shut up. But he talked about how whenever he was at Florida State, like he was one of the best coaches that he ever had, and he was really pushing for Florida State to get him whenever Tennessee hired their coach that offseason, or maybe it was the offseason before. But I just remember reading that, and at the time, Jalen Ramsey was considered one of the best defensive backs in the NFL, and I mean he's kind of, I don't know, ever since he went to LA, he's still solid, I think, and he's still really well regarded, but. To have him say like and hold Jeremy Pruitt and his ability to coach defensive backs in such high regard from a guy that's such an elite defensive back, to me told me, okay, this guy's not only a guy that can recruit, but also knows how to coach guys up and can be a guy that can help us take that next step.
Yeah. And Derrick Henry said the same thing, that Pruitt was one of the main reasons, not main reasons, but one of the bigger reasons why he chose Bama. I mean, obviously the guy can recruit. And like Chase said earlier, the staff, and I don't want to propose this question for all of us in the room right here and watching and viewing here, but I don't doubt what they're able to do. It's just the fact that we're still coming out of such a dark era with Butch Jones, and we've seen those guys come in, and it's something that, I mean, even, you look at guys like Kamara in the NFL. I know Jalen Hurd is with the obviously the 49ers now. He was injured last year, but it's just something to think. Like, obviously there's NFL level talent that he had at the time, but what the hell happened? What went wrong? And obviously we could talk about that in a whole nother episode. I guess through the quarantine period might be a good topic. Let's break down actually what went wrong during the Butch era. But it's just something that I fully believe in Pruitt, and I agree with you. And I think other guys like Chaney, obviously T. Martin and this staff and Derek Ainsley, like there are so many high quality coaches, and it's nice because obviously in college and almost the same way in pros now, you have to do a little recruiting at some point. But to be able to be great recruiters and great coaches, because we've seen, again, young guys like Henry To'oto come in, been a fan favorite. It's been fantastic, but it's just something that it'll be fun to watch in 2020. But I know kind of a topic we have here on screen is who's left for the Vols to get in recruiting. I know we had our buddy Caleb Bagwell, who helps out with our Chat 10 Sports Twitter page, and he throws out some great facts and things. But are there any particular guys that are still that you're just your mouth is watering to see them land with the Big Orange?
I'll let you go, Chase.
Okay, just some names here. I know we've kind of built up some secondary depth, but Kerryon Arnold. He's still got some potential. He can play both ways. Who's another one? Oh yeah, Trinity Bell. The athlete.
Yeah.
He's your prototypical, absolute physical specimen. Can play defensive end or tight end. He's like, I got my notes here. 6'7", 260. Supposedly timed. We all know how these go. But he timed at a 4.5 to 4.6 40. But the main thing is Pruitt's dad coached him. So it's
good start.
Good start. The connections there. He's to go along with the athlete stigma. He is a guy that he's pretty raw. He's played basketball, but just an absolute physical specimen. And I agree with Mike. I believe the talent development is there, and I think that's what we're seeing to get guys playing. And I really think people buy into Jeremy big time. Just hear a couple of the Marcus Callaway, I know I mentioned that last week. The way he spoke about him, it's just a whole different change from the coaching staffs he's been around. Just really commands a room, and I think somebody like that, 6'7", 260, you can't teach that every day. So he's one to watch out for. And there's a couple others. You got somebody, Mike?
Yeah, I think for me, the guys that I'm excited to see kind of what happens in their recruitment, Smile Mondone. I don't know how to say that last name, but the two guys that Harrison Bailey tweeted at from Georgia, Mondone and Amarius Mims, like both those guys are 5-star guys, and if we can get them on board, then I think that just kind of perpetuates the momentum that this class is carrying into the summer and hopefully into the fall as well. So, I mean, that's kind of a cop-out answer because you're just kind of star chasing or stargazing at that point. Trinity Bell could be a huge mismatch problem. Like you said, 6'7", really looks like a pretty good athlete. Could play on either side of the ball. But yeah, I mean, I think we're in on a lot of good guys. Ritzy out of North Carolina, he's a defensive end that could kind of give Tennessee a much needed elite pass rusher. He's another guy that we're after. And then Terrion Arnold, the guy that you said from Florida, he's somebody that Kamar Wilcoxon, he's really like trying to go after and wants to play in the backfield with defensively, even though Arnold could probably play on both sides of the ball. So, you know, I think we're in on a lot of really high quality, high character, like seemingly just a lot of elite players, more 5-stars than I can remember us being in on in a long time. So hopefully those pay dividends for us, and we're able to get, I don't know, 3, 4, maybe even 5 stars. That would be pretty incredible. And I think we'd be looking at like a top 5 class, which I really think is what we need to take that next step to contend for SEC championships.
Yeah, and I think you guys both know this about me, but for all those that are watching, I'm a huge Big Uglies guy. I mean, I know the days where we were, you know, obviously John Henderson. I mean, I remember Jesse Maheloa. I think he's, you know, he had a great run at Tennessee, but just defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and I'm trying to look up some names here to make sure I can actually back up what I'm talking about, but it's just something that I know Pruitt, I know Will Friend for a while was getting pretty criticized, but I think when you have guys as far as the offensive line performance, but I think when you have the guys like Trey Smith sticking around, obviously Cade Mays and his brother Cooper coming through, obviously the program, but I think about tight ends as well. I don't know what it is. I'm a huge tight end guy. I know Trinity Bell's a 21 tight end. That's put Tennessee in his top 5. So, I mean, there's obviously so much time, and obviously with the spring and the fall commitment time now, it's I kind of miss the older days of where it was just the one signing day, you know, pour it out and you know, remember that the good old days of that. But it's just something to make that kind of a – I remember just sitting at work and watching my phone and kind of making sure no one's watching my shoulder because it's like I got to watch something to get, you know, to make sure I'm in the loop on what's happening here. But yeah, and for those watching with us, I know the room's filling up here pretty well. But if you have thoughts of who you'd still want the Vols to go after in 21, but guys, I kind of want to transition as well from the recruiting side of it. Let's talk about 2020, the outlook and our expectations. I know you guys talked about it on Instagram Live a week or two ago, just some of the things as far as quarterback, obviously, Harrison Bailey is coming in. My thoughts, and I've had people ask me the questions of receiver. It's something that what's left with, you know, Callaway, and you guys can help me and remind me of some of the names of the guys that have left, but not too many guys I feel like have departed. I mean, at least not key guys, but the biggest flyer for me still, and Chase, you know this, I've hounded on the guy for the last year at least, since that Bama game where he just went rogue, was just Jarrett Garantano. Let me guys, since we're going to 2020, is JG going to be the starter, let's say for the half of the season?
I like that question because to me that's a more difficult question than the is Jarrett going to start the season? Because I think to me there's almost no doubt in my mind that he'll start the season for the opening game. I mean, I would say like 80 to 90% chance, especially just because of the way that this year has played out with the lack of spring practice, with the lack of spring ball. I'm just thinking like you got to kind of roll with what you know at this point. I don't know. I think midway into the season, I really don't think he's the starting guy, to be honest. I think that they'll try Harrison Bailey potentially. It's possible they might even try, I don't know, Maurer or Shrout. But
you can say Maurer. It's not, I feel like some people are, you know, uneasy to say Maurer.
Yeah,
I get it. My thing, I think the guy, just not to cut you off, Mike, I just want to interject here because I think it is a relevant. I don't know if it's a, bad thing. Obviously, his story this offseason and obviously what he shared, obviously there's not just, I'm not saying this, there's some things going on. I think we've all gone through stuff. I know we all, have moments where it gets pretty dark, but being on that stage, and I think Chase, we might have talked about it off air or something, but being on that platform, when you're in Neyland Stadium, you are that guy, and it either doesn't go your way or you don't live up to the expectations. It's difficult. But to be honest, and I know my brother popped in talking about Roy D. Mercer, but it's something to me that we were watching the game, and I just told him, I was like, I don't understand why this guy's not working out. And of course, he would get injured. I think it was Mississippi State game where he basically did a flip and landed on his head and got another concussion. But the guy brought the electricity that the offense was lacking to get the ball moving because, as we've said and we all know, JG was just having such a hard time in accurate throws. But so I just want to back my guy Mike Pipe over here just to say if Maurer is the second guy right now, I won't be shocked. And I don't even know with Bailey, it's like obviously without the spring and then without that developmental period, is he going to be even anywhere close to ready for the fall? Because, again, I'm being long-winded here, so forgive me, but that's just a big question mark for me. So
yeah. If COVID doesn't happen, Bailey has a shot to win because he's the future. And if he's good, just good, if he's close, I think even if JG's probably a little bit better, knows the system, but it's super close, Bailey wins that because of the potential. You want him to get in there and work, and you're going to have somebody good. Charlotte made a bowl game last week. Charlotte can play.
Yeah.
So they're a talented team. It's a good start. I want to know how JG does against Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I don't know if fans are going to be there. So if not, you're just playing Oklahoma and Norman by itself. Not a great it's not too far outside OKC. But I think it's almost a sure thing that JG's 1, Maurer and Bailey are 2A and 2B right now.
Yeah,
it's just knowing the system. Like you said, I don't know what our condition is right now. I don't know if everybody's going to be okay as far as mentally, and shout out to Matt Winn. Mike Pipe, he is bringing that flow, dude.
We did have that pregame conversation, just the peak on that. We won't give Mike's hair the spotlight, but it's
a magician never reveals his secrets,
That's
so
right.
Can't get into all the details that go into it, but
it's definitely going to be JG, like it or not. It's COVID prevented a lot of things from happening, and that's going to be one of them. We have short practices. Don't know what the season's going to entail. So your best chance to win, starting JG probably for the first half of the season. And if it goes south, which we hope it doesn't, hope he does great and Harrison can just be stashed away for a whole year and we get better and that's it. But we'll see. But right now it's JG for probably the first half.
Yeah, I think, Pruitt's shown that he doesn't mind to switch it up and to kind of give quarterbacks different, give a different quarterback a different try or different lead. Just with seeing how he handled the situation, I think a lot of coaches are kind of worried that they're going to break their player's ego. I don't know if that's because he knew that JG had a great deal of mental toughness, because I do feel like whatever he lacks in talent or in maybe ability to make accurate intermediate throws, I think he is a pretty mentally tough guy to be able to sustain and put up with the abuse that he's taken from our fan base at times. And so I got to commend him for the work that he's put in and for the mentality that he has. But I think that is going to lend itself to Pruitt feeling comfortable that, hey, if he has 2 or 3 bad series in Norman, I think he rolls the dice and puts in Maurer, puts in Bailey. I don't think that he's going to have a really long leash, because I think as the season wore on, he kind of saw more and more, okay, in my opinion, JG's like a really great practice player. And that's kind of what he showed throughout high school and camps that made everybody think that he was a top 3, top 4 quarterback in his class. When in actuality, his high school stats in New Jersey were not good. And I know you can't totally base it on that, and you can't totally base it on camps either. but I think he's just a guy that's a really great practice player. And then when the lights come on, I think you see some inconsistency, maybe just because he doesn't have the high volume of reps that these other guys have. Yeah. Maybe he'll take a big step this year. I'm not a big JG believer. I think he starts out the season, but I think by the midway point, we've tried other people and are probably rolling the dice with Bailey and just seeing what he's going to give you.
Yeah, I might make some people mad here. I know some Tennessee fans don't love the hate, per se. I think it's just being straight up honest. I'm at the point, like Mike said, I'm not a believer in JG. I think even after the Bama game last year, he lost my trust. I mean, obviously the coaching staff, it seemed every week, like, what are they going to do? Who's going to be the guy? How long is the leash? That's the big hot question right now. To where and like Mike said, I hope JG and Pruitt they're on a good foot right now. But I hope Pruitt has that leash. When you have that dog and that dog's not listening, and you need to keep that leash, wrapped up in your hand just to pull it back, and you're ready for it. I hope he's ready to pull that trigger and make a switch, because you got to think, winning 8 games last year, if that cold start didn't happen and we didn't lose or juggle those first 2 games, boys, and even the Indiana game, like, he had a good bounce back bowl game.
Yeah.
But I'm still not at the point that I'm ready to push my chips in and look at the guy and say, hey, because even when he had the time, when the offensive line was protecting him, and that was the big thing in 2018, that he just couldn't get a second because the offensive line was so poor. And for a while there it was as well. But it's just something that when the guy has the time, the receivers are breaking into routes properly, and he just can't put the ball on them. I mean, it's the most frustrating thing. Like, yeah. I know, again, I was with family in Nashville watching the Georgia game, and he hit Jennings on that one, post route. Just beautiful. It's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
If we had this guy a quarter of the time to half of the time, you got to wonder what could have been. But again, as important as the position is as quarterback, it's something that even with the offensive line that we've got coming into 2020, the stable of running backs that we have coming behind them, obviously run the ball, in my opinion, should be priority one. Take a note out of the Titans book. Use the play action. Use the running game. Ease the pressure off of JG or whoever's behind them. And that's why, too, I think with the ability to run the ball successfully, that's why I think they might be a little bit more susceptible to give Bailey or even Maurer that second chance to get in there, test the waters, and see what happens. Because, Eric Gray, obviously Chandler coming back, it's one of those things, man, like, just hand the ball off and let these guys work, because it seemed like they got away from it for a little bit last year. But at the same time, I want 2020 to be pound the rock, make it happen.
Yeah, speaking of Eric Gray, I think that's probably going to be my one big. If he had a full, real off season,
yeah,
he was going to become in that offense. He took big strides. Like, I did not think he was going to come in and do the damage he did. I knew he was good. We talked about him. He's a Memphis boy. Those dudes just ball, basketball, football. It don't matter. But I just expected him to be pretty solid. Have some decent games and outings, but he became a feature back, and it kind of sucks. I don't know. I don't know how well these guys have been training. I don't know if they've, got little things figured out. Let's be honest. I mean, you're a star in your hometown. Coaches, people can get you into places. It's just the facts of life. Like, I've seen guys there's a couple of kids over here at the high school I live near they're working out and doing little things. Like, they're fine. Like, you can come in with somebody and you're comfortable with. If the dad's got a key or something like that, they'll let you in and work out. So maybe there's something along those lines that these guys are hopefully working and being able to do drills and stuff, but it's still not the same. But hopefully he gets back and he's still in the great shape that he is, maybe faster or stronger, or, even gets more mobile or something like that. Hopefully these guys gotten better, but Eric Gray's one that I really, really wish we had another full off season with.
Yeah.
To get him to be that feature back, I think. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. I know we're talking about 2020, and Eric, I think that's why I'm wanting to go to this topic now. But Eric Gray is my guy that I am so looking forward to seeing. And again, if you're watching with us, let us know who is the guy that you're looking forward to see, because you got quite the, obviously, again, I think Caden Mays with this offensive line, it just goes to another level. that's one group I'm looking forward to see. And it's, yeah, I mean, again, I'm the big uglies, baby. I believe in it. It's a mentality, and I think and again, I know Mike referenced, Georgia's not going through a rebuild, but losing Sam Pittman again in their recruiting, industry, or I guess field, if you would, if that's their professional or profession, excuse me. Sam Pittman's going to be able to pull some guys away, and I'm surprised Cade, if he didn't have ties to Knoxville, he might have gone to Arkansas with Pittman, but. The O-line, that's a group, but who are the guys, or what are the groups that y'all are looking forward to see the most in 2020?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the offensive line, man, and some of that too will translate into being excited to see what Eric Gray is able to accomplish because he's electric. But I feel like this is the first time in a long time where I'm going into a season and feeling like we've got a lot of talent on the offensive line. And not only a lot of talent, but I really feel good about the depth that we have too. I feel like we've got eight or nine guys that really could be starters. I mean, guys like Carvin and even Chris Akparagini or whatever. I mean, he's the beast. So it's like, I don't know, just feel really good about the front five. Obviously, when you've got four guys that are 5 stars and then one guy that's a 6-year senior transfer from Alabama. I think it's a unit that we're going to see perform at a level that we haven't seen since the Fulmer years. So I'm just excited to see us get down on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and just run it up the field. And just say, our best 5 against your best 5, or our best 7 against your best 7. And 2, a guy that goes unnoticed, but Austin Pope, man, he tears it up blocking as a tight end and really helped us create a lot of running lanes down the left. So you've got, 5 great offensive linemen that are going to be able to run block, and then you've also got a tight end that you can run it to his side as well. So yeah, I'm just really excited to see the offensive line as a whole. And I would say if I had to pick one player that I'm most excited to see, I think it's Trey Smith. I'm super excited to see him come back for that 4th year, and obviously his speech as he referenced Peyton Manning, that was pretty awesome. So I'm excited to see him play, and I really think he's going to take that next step as I feel like he's kind of had to do this balancing act with his health and with his how can he be ready on Saturdays while not putting himself at risk. And I'm sure as time goes on, he's going to get better and better at doing that and being prepared on Saturdays. So I'm just hoping that, he can stay healthy, but it seems like he's gotten to a place where he can manage it and also be ready for, ready to dominate on Saturdays. So,
yeah, sure. I think for me, it's probably the wide receiver group. Losing Callaway and Jennings, big hit. It's a big hit. I think Palmer became part of that offense where you're like, oh, this dude, his ball skills were probably the overall best towards the end of the year, I thought. Maybe not after the catch. Jennings just was a different animal once he caught the ball. But Palmer really made strides where I was like, I'm going to feel good about him being our number 1 as long as other guys make development. With Brennan Johnson, Ramel Keaton, those guys are going to have to really step up. I mean, these guys will step into big roles. And I think we're going to be slinging the rock a little bit. And I think we're going to have to. But, yeah, that group's got a lot of guys that I think can step up, but are going to have to really work now, especially with the shortened off season, and you're hopping right into some pretty solid teams. Like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be Charlotte and Oklahoma. So a lot of fast-paced games, and that group's got a lot to prove, especially losing 2 guys to the NFL. So
yeah,
or Brandon Johnson, Mel Keaton, and another guy. But just to reiterate, Palmer is going to be my guy to watch. He really has ball skills that are there to impress, and I know we saw a couple of times he was a good one-on-one catch guy. And you're like, oh, he's not a monster. He's not a freak show athletically. He doesn't look like Callaway in a lot of ways, where he's rangy and he's got these sick high points at 6'6". He's just got great ball skills. He's going to really make plays this year, and he's going to be our guy that's going to be the big time player when we need it. So that's who my guy is.
I like it, and that's again the position of you're losing some guys. Who's going to step up? I know Ramel Keaton was a guy when he was being recruited was, a good get. But even guys I know, a friend of ours, I guess as a whole, Rainey Vol on Twitter was talking about Josh Palmer and just his ability. And I mean, obviously, people want to throw. I threw the shot, I should say, at if JG could put the ball where it is. It'd be great to see. And again, I'm kind of being facetious, but at the same time, he's got the ability to get the ball wherever it's at, adjust and go. But something I know, this has been kind of a position that's been fun to watch. But the linebacking group with Quavaris Crouch, Henry To'oto, JJ Peterson, man, he was one of those guys. And if I'm thinking of the right guy, he was recruited to come in, kind of went MIA for a little bit, and I'm hoping that this can be the time for him to get in there. If I'm thinking of the right guy, I'm trying to make sure I'm not misspeaking here. But but that's the one group with, I know, Crouch. I think getting those guys in, and obviously losing Daniel Patulli, like leadership, talent. I think he was signed as an undrafted free agent, I believe. I think he's with Seattle with Daryl Taylor, but it's going to be a lot of opportunities just to get in there and make plays, And again, I know it's been huge for even the Titans kind of priding themselves on developing guys and elevating their play. But to see Pruitt go in, obviously defensive-minded coach, but to get those young guys, if you have, Henry To'oto, Quavaris Crouch, to kind of lead the next 2 to 3 years, and just to think when they're, if they're juniors and they're hopefully NFL ready, or even if they stay for their senior year, good Lord. This recruiting, in 2021 and 22 look to be, if that's the case, I'm even more excited for what the recruiting classes could look like with some young guys coming up, some big uglies, like I've been saying, just to help them, knock off some offensive linemen to make sure they can get to the ball carriers. So, I think that's one I just wanted to wrap back around since I've got the depth chart, I guess the projected depth chart. I think we have a lot to be excited about, I think, like we said, with losing Daryl Taylor as well, like who's going to step up as that guy? Because last year the big conversation was Aubrey Solomon coming from Michigan, and he finally gets the approval to come. Didn't really, didn't come out with fireworks or anything like that. Greg Emerson's coming back as well, but who's going to be that guy to say, the famous line, we going to blank there, blanking, we're going to make it happen, basically, So that's just something, again, it's nice as a Vols fan, and I'm sure those that are watching with us feel the same way, and you guys do too. It's nice as a Vols fan to be optimistic, and you're not dreading Saturdays where it's like, oh, here we go again, Yeah. But let's move on here, guys. And then we have the topic. Obviously, it's been the relevant quarantine era. And obviously we're right now, I think everywhere in the state of Tennessee and beyond, we're in phase 1 to try and test the waters to get back out there. But obviously, I believe the announcements come out that UTK will be in session in class. I know the Lee University here where we are, UTC will be in class as well. I believe they've announced that. But Saturdays, what will Saturdays be like? What will college football be like as a whole on a Saturday for a home game at Neyland? I know there's rumors flying that it could be open. It could not be open. They might section off areas, or you have to sit 3 rows or whatever apart. But what do you think it's going to be like?
Very strange. Very strange early on. I do think eventually we get around to being full capacity, whether that's late October-ish. I think they try to test the waters and be precautious early on. Somebody's going to make the move in the SEC. Or like, you know what? They're already tailgating out there. We can't really stop it.
Yeah.
Bring them on in. Somebody's going to do that. Already SEC schools are the only ones that are committing to being I should say just Southern State schools are committing to being in session next year on campus. California's, on lockdown until August 1st. So it's like,
wow.
What? So Pac-12 schools and all that stuff, sports in LA, all that's gone for pretty much at least in the short term. I do think somebody in the SEC makes a move, whether that's Tennessee, whether it's LSU. Somebody's like, you know what? We'll at least get half capacity and push the boundaries of the 6-foot thing, or however they want to look at it. I just think there's going to be too much pressure to get back to normalcy. And I think it's smart to ease into it, whether that's, maybe having those first couple games be fanless. It's going to be very hard to control, like tailgates. I just think that people are still going to do it. There's some just good old country boys that don't want to miss out on that. And it's going to be tough to not give into the pressure, because somebody in sports is going to make that move to bring fans in the late October. It's cold, something like they're going to pull some BS excuse, and it's going to work. It's going to go by fine, and I hope it does. I hope there's no weird second wave. But I do think eventually we get to a point where there's some fans or full capacity towards the end of the season.
Yeah. And Mike, what do you think, brother?
Yeah. I think we're definitely going to be starting out the season with empty stadiums, unfortunately. But I do think that as time goes on, I don't know. I mean, I could see us also doing like maybe Neyland will have 20,000 people in it, or it'll have maybe 30,000 people in it. But I think it'll definitely be something that, like Chase said, builds over time, unless we see a huge spike start to happen as these sporting events increase. If we start to see it kind of spike back up, or we see cases starting to double and triple, then I think you'll see them kind of regress back towards no fans, or towards allowing 20,000 people in, which I don't know. Like, for me, it's a logistical nightmare to imagine trying to like plan that and who you're going to give tickets to and all that craziness. But yeah, I mean, I think I just don't see a way that there'll be full stadium. I think that hopefully we'll get to have some games where there's at least like some semblance of a college atmosphere, because that's part of what makes the game and the sport so electric and so exciting. But to me, it just seems like there's been so much pushback across the board that I'll have a hard time seeing it be 100,000 strong at any point this season.
Yeah. And I would not be shocked, like Chase was saying about tailgating, if there's teams of people out there taking temperatures and putting out, sanitizer and things like that. It's gonna be this whole thing's been so weird, but it's at the same time, if obviously I think staying home, stay healthy, that whole thing's worked for, obviously numbers coming down. I know, obviously Clay Travis has been talking at the wazoo about that, Dr. Clay Travis. But it's something that obviously it's worked, but right now we've seen enough, progress. For me, even I know restaurants over here have been opening up. Zach Brooks and I went out last night. Our other guy who has been doing our last dance discussion on Mondays when I had dinner. It's open. There's safety precautions we can all take, but it's something too. I mean, if there is, and like Mike was saying, if there's 20,000 people who are spread out in this massive stadium, obviously it's kind of awkward. It's kind of obviously a different change. But I know Joe Buck with Fox coming out this week saying that they're going to basically be playing crowd noise throughout the game, at least on their broadcast. And who knows what's to stop them from filtering in crowd noise for the sake of the players, just making some type of atmosphere that seems somewhat normal. But at the same time, like Chase said, I completely agree to think at some point the camel's going to break, or the straw's going to break the camel's back, and someone's going to just take the plunge. And at some point, I know the hot phrase through all this stuff right now is the new normal.
Yeah.
I think it's going to wear thin at some point. I know even myself, like through this whole process, we're going to definitely stay in. I've got 3 kids. We're going to take every precaution necessary to make sure that we're not getting sick, because scary stuff whenever the unknown is out. Now that these stats are there, the reports are out, unfortunately, obviously people are dying, but it's one of those things that there's a death rate that's, significantly small in what we're thinking about. Not that we should be reckless. I'm not saying that. Just throw it all caution to the wind. But I think at some point, with the sake of, and you got to think and keep in mind as well, money talks, man. And for concessions, and attendance. I mean, obviously, viewership on ESPN or whatever platform they'll be using for SEC Network. Yes, that's cool, but they are losing. And I know sports leagues that are in MLB and NHL and NBA that are legitimately out. They're going to do all that they can to prevent that type of loss because, I mean, especially in the South, like, and you've got other big programs across the country, but people have their traditions, and it's not a school enforced thing. I mean, obviously, all three of us growing up as Tennessee boys, like we've been watching the Vols our whole lives.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. And like Chase said, some good old country boys are going to get there and tailgate. It's going to happen. For us, like we do our watch parties, we do our stuff at Parkway Poorhouse. You can see they're presenting this broadcast right now, but you can believe that will be packed out. It's going to be a give and take thing. People are going to get out and do stuff because they're going to be itching to go. Yeah, and I think it'll happen sooner than later. If it's week 3 or 4 versus halfway through the season. That's my thought on it. But I know that's kind of a hot topic. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's awkward for a little bit and it's like, guys, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Open the gates. Let's go make this thing happen. But Chase, let's close that out with some Tennessee basketball talk. Obviously, some big news and big potential for the Vols, baby.
Yeah, man. If some of you know, before Zion, there was this, let's call it what it is, this short white dude who was putting kids on posters. And you're like, this Instagram star named Mac McClung, dude, this guy is electric. He played at Georgetown his first 2 years. He, poor Patrick Ewing, that poor guy, he's been just trashed these last 4 weeks on The Last Dance. And now he's lost his best recruit. And yeah, Mac McClung, he signed up, declared for the NBA draft, came back. Patrick was pumped. And now Mac McClung has entered the transfer portal. So rumor has it that Tennessee's number 1. He did grow up and play ball in Southwest Virginia. And he's electric, guys. He is Russell Westbrook type, just has that unbelievable bounce and explosiveness. He's an absolute bulldog. He loves to get to the rim. One of the best finishers I've ever seen. The guy, not only can he dunk on people, but I mean, he just finishes off glass. If you wouldn't believe it, he's becoming a better shooter throughout the last 2 years. He would be everything you want in a college guard because, as you know, point guards run the show. If you don't have a really good point guard in college basketball, it don't work. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Duke struggled with that monster team because they didn't have a great point guard. So they didn't have a great passer outside of Zion. So things like that turn away and it's different where you have to have that small forward or Giannis, whatever the heck he is. You have to have that in the NBA. But in college basketball, you need a great point guard. That's what wins you stuff. Is he elite level? I don't know because he's not the knockdown shooter of Steph Curry, but he can fill it up. He's a 15, 20-point guy. He averaged like 24 down his last 6 or 7 games before he had an ankle injury. So this would be a huge get. I know Mike Pipe was pretty pumped about that as well when he saw that earlier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pumped to see him play, man. I've been watching him for a long time. Just mainly his videos on YouTube and stuff from high school, and he's got some bounce, and he can score from every level. I mean, he can score at the rim, he can finish. He's got a pretty strong mid-range game. He's developed his three-point shot as well. So I mean, honestly, that's a guy that to me, if you add him, you have to feel like you've got a really good shot at winning the SEC next year. So just because between him and Fulkerson and EJ Anasicki, all that combined with that top 4 class you've got coming in, I mean, that's strong. And I mean, not to mention Eve Pons. I mean, just all the people you're turning to everybody except for Bowden. But I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I think this team, if he ends up at UT, I'd definitely be looking for us to be I would think no less than a 3 seed going into the tournament next year. But
and if anything, we're going to get a lot of TV time. The excitement level when you have Pons, Mac McClung, there's going to be a lot of bounce guys where they can move us into the ESPN late slot. That's one of those that people love to see dunks and backdoor stuff and 3-pointers. That's Mac McClung. That's what he does. He'll pull up from anywhere, ease pawns. That's going to be a really fun, weird pick and pop, pick and roll kind of game with Fulkerson too. So a very, very exciting brand could be coming to Knoxville.
Yeah, and as everyone probably knows, I'm not talking a whole lot. So I'm not the savant of the basketball side of it. Although I could beat the crap out of Zach Brooks in some NBA 2K. We all know that, and I know he just popped in, so I wanted to give him a shout out. But no, I as we've documented on other broadcasts, podcasts, it has been for me obviously with NBA, The Last Dance, the hype there, and obviously with Admiral and Grant's last year, that was such an electric time, anything that could get us, because I know last year when we saw some of those early games before all this stuff hit, some of those games, I remember it was the Kansas game that we watched at Parkway. Chase, I know we had some of our fellow fans out there. It always seemed that they were just that one thing away. There's a couple games, even close games, where it's like just get over that hump. I'm hoping he can help, obviously, being that point. I know I'm looking at his stats right now, kind of pulling everything up here. Averaging 2.4 assists. This is in 2019, 2020, 39% as far as field goals. So again, not the huge basketball guy, but I now understand what all those stats are really breaking down and meaning. But it's something to look forward to. And I know it's just, you gotta love Rick Barnes, what he's brought to the basketball program. And I know our friends at Fan Cards hooked us up a couple years ago to see the Georgia game where they just basically beat the brakes off of them there at TBA. So I'm hoping to get some more of that, that train going. And like Mike said, if we're a 3 seed going into the tournament, that's just, right now, maybe I'm just so desperate for any sport. It's like that just gets my mouth watering as a sports fan, just thinking like, oh, I need every sport to hit at the same time. That's what I'm hoping for, honestly, that we start in the fall and NBA, NHL, MLB all starts, and we just have like 6 or 7 months straight up everything, which would be great.
I was talking to one last thing. I was talking to my cousin Hunter last night, and Hunter is a professional golfer, and we were talking about, can you imagine in 1 month you're going to have, like in a month span, you're going to have the Masters, you're going to have Tennessee versus Bama, in this run of Tennessee great football, potentially college basketball starting, and I don't know what the NBA is going to look like yet, but you might be like in an NBA draft. It could be one of the strangest and coolest sports times. So we might be getting this gift after our social and sports fast. We could be getting this gift of a lifetime to have the coolest and most content providing season.
Yes. We're going to ramp it up.
You're going to have 3 hour, like everybody's going to have 3 hour podcasts. It's like, well, first when we have golf, then we have this and that. That fall season could be reckless.
Oh, man.
Awesome.
Don't tease me. I know the people watching are probably thinking the same thing. I'm just let it happen, man, because I know the UFC's been back going, and I know we're kind of closing down here, but having that, just I know last week that card was a fantastic card. I'm hoping I look forward to Fight Island actually happening. Yeah. We can get some actual events going on. But yeah, Zach Brook replying here in the comments. I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it as well. But we're going to stream a game on Twitch. Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. We're going to fight. No, so I'm about to dust it off, maybe. But we'll make that happen and keep it PG for sure. But yeah, appreciate everybody watching. I know we're going to wrap this thing up here. For those that don't know us, if you're new, you want to know more about us, check out chat10sports.com. All three of us have contributed to give our thoughts on Vols, Titans, the whole 9 yards. And of course, our friends at Parkway Poorhouse are open right now for curbside takeout. And like Chase previewed at the very beginning of the show, there's rumors going, kind of rumblings taking place that we might be getting some fresh on the table, hot fries, hot wings, and we can have some events cracking in here. So check out parkwaypoorhouse.com, get their information, put in your curbside take order. I'm telling you guys, and Chase, Mike, you guys know this, some of my favorite food, but chase the wings. Just give me a thumbs up, baby.
The wings, my dude.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But I know we talked a little bit for a second there about some golf. I know we have some things in the works. We're not officially announcing yet, but specifically for Vols fans, looking at a potential golf event to happen this fall that could be also married to a game day, watching the Tennessee Vols after a nice round of golf here in beautiful Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yeah, we want to keep it on the down low. Not officially announcing anything yet, but we'll keep you guys up to date on any announcements that we have. Again, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere that you listen, Spotify. We're on anchor.fm and, of course, Apple Podcasts. But, guys, thanks for joining. It's been a lot of fun as we kick the live stream bucket and get back into this thing. And for all of our viewers, make sure and keep an eye on our event schedule, both online and both in person. So, again, thank you all so much for checking this out, and we hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay healthy, and we'll check you next time.